Morning. Welcome to the Kindness Project on the 10th of May 2020. Hope everybody's doing well this Sunday morning. I'm joined by a girl who is definitely the lady in red. It's Charlotte Dames.
And I'm joined by a man who thinks we're good to go. It's Chris Day.
And we're joined live from her bedroom by our special guest today. Somebody who had to throw the cat out before we started the interview. It's Danielle. Hello, Danielle. How are you?
I'm a little bit concerned that you knew this was my bedroom.
I think you said it when you said you were getting rid of the cat.
Well, look, I assume that was a bedstead. But look, what is it? Wait, what's the bit on the
headstand?
It's like a headstand. That's like an acrobatic thing.
That's the wallpaper. There you
Oh, we missed the wallpaper. Can we?
You at all because it's a complete mess in here.
So, welcome to the Kindness Project. We're going to crack straight on with the question of the podcast because people have been giving us some amazing answers already, and I want to talk about it. The question of the podcast is, what did you or do you want to be when you grow up? What's your answer to that, Charlotte?
God. Duh.
When you were a younger child,
When I was tiny, I wanted to take over your business. And then the plan was to kick you out of running the business and run it for myself, and now that's not the dream anymore.
Sorry, the plan was to have a hostile takeover of the family business.
Yeah.
Is that what you were planning?
Yeah.
And now, how about a just less hostile takeover?
Now I don't want it at all.
No, that's fair enough. And now you're thinking about doing what?
Journalism and writing books.
And writing books sounds good. Danielle, what are you going to do when you grow up?
I think initially I wanted to be a graphic designer.
Okay.
That's funky.
And then I went for my college interview for art and got told that my artwork was rubbish. So I wanted to be a holiday rep after that, and I ended up being a travel agent. Fair
enough. You know what's interesting though? I'm getting back into art. I haven't done it since I was at school, and I can't pretend I'm any good. But I'm enjoying it. Do you know what I mean? I'm enjoying the experience.
It is therapeutic. It is.
Yeah, it's quite cathartic to just sit there with a sort of pencil and some. I mean, for me, the only art material we've got is Sophie's at the minute, so I'm using my 8-year-old daughter's colouring pens to create these weird, like, bizarre art. You quite like art as well, Charlotte.
I quite like art. There's a page in my. It's supposed to be a scrapbook.
Yeah.
It's just filled with like pictures of birds. There's a finch. There's a house bird and.
And by the way, just while we're on the subject of art, we are selling some of our really bad art for charity. So far we've raised about £100, and I'm waiting for an offer on one of the other pieces of art I've created. We might be creating a website called Is That What You Call Art? Because genuinely, Danielle, our art is that bad.
Questionable.
Yeah.
Good idea, though.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can raise a bit of cash for St Francis. I said, because I was meant to be running the marathon for them, and now that's been postponed until October. There was I don't know if you saw it, there was a thing a couple of weeks ago where people were doing 26 of something else to replace the 26 miles that they were going to do on the marathon. My 26 is going to be 26 really questionable works of art that I can potentially sell for charity. So it should be good fun. Hello to Tracy, thanks for tuning in. Hi to Steve, to Russ, to Kelly, to Dave, to Eve, to Alan, to Tina. Morning to Kelly and to Jed Dip and Dale. Thanks for tuning in to this Sunday morning edition of the Kindness Project. Can you just let people know where they can let us know what the...
Righty.
Righty. Where has that come from? Righty. Good.
Okay, so if you're currently watching this, you're on our Facebook page or you are on the watch party, and it is easy to get to our Facebook page, I assume. But if you are not, then if you're listening, hi, welcome. We're probably about, 100 and silly something in now.
Yeah, we're a lot of episodes in.
So you can find us our Facebook page if you just search The Kindness Project in the search bar. You can find our Twitter at Ola Kindness. You can find our Instagram at Ola Kindness.
Yeah.
We don't do a lot on Instagram.
MySpace? Do you want to mention the MySpace page?
No, we have to deactivate that. Then we have a website, which is
www.thekindnessproject.co.uk. We're all over the internet, basically, and thank you to the...
We have our finger in every internet pie.
Oh, merch! If you want to buy a Kindness Project t-shirt, you can do that on the website as well. All proceeds go to Charlotte, and do they go to you?
I will not be receiving anything.
No, they go to charity. So if you'd like a branded Kindness Project t-shirt, we've got those on the website. Yeah, we've got those on the website as well. So you can find us all over the show on the internet.
Did we mention the email?
You can mention the email if you want.
thekindnessproject.co.uk. Woo!
Yeah.
I think that's it, yeah.
What was the word at the end? Righty, or whatever that was.
Trying to come up with a catchphrase. I don't think I've settled on one yet.
Now, what we like to do on the Kindness Project is talk about a couple of things. The thing that we thought might be useful to talk about today is, and this is the unofficial question of the podcast, what's Boris going to announce later on today?
Morning, dudes.
Morning, Trev. I think there'll be no immediate change, but a change over the next 3 to 4 weeks. What do you think, Danielle?
I think that he's going to allow indoor socialising with family.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people that have got elderly parents and things like that can't go into their homes. I think he's going to start allowing that.
You know what?
Not so much social gatherings, but I think it will allow visitations.
Yeah, and that'd be nice actually, because we can go around and visit Grandad, can't we?
Yeah.
I think that sort of visits to family, or potentially like sort of maybe 2 or 3 visitors in your house at the same time might be the way they do it. If you're watching, let us know what you think Boris is gonna announce. What do you think he's gonna announce?
I think he's going to increase outdoor exercise time.
Okay. Yeah. To what?
I don't know, hour and a half.
You know what? I've been cutting down my runs to an hour. I need to get on the road again. So if he increases the exercise time, that would be amazing. Other thing I wanted to talk about, and this is very niche, but let's talk about it. As you're Welsh, Danielle, for some weird reason, Charlotte in lockdown has decided to learn a really practical language. Guess what it is?
Did I just hear you say Welsh?
Welsh. Now, not even Welsh people speak Welsh anymore. And I'm not convinced.
Can you say that really, really long word?
Which one?
The one that ends in goo 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 goo.
No, I've not gotten that far.
What words can you do?
So like, hat is het.
Hat is het. Welcome to Learning Welsh with Charlotte Dames. This is change.
So if I was gonna say the hat shop in Welsh, it would be I het siop.
What's the one that goes Hoffy Coffee?
Oh, Dwi'n Hoffi Coffee. I like coffee.
So apparently, and Danielle, feel free to mimic this when you get a chance. I like coffee is Dwi Hoffi Coffee. Give it a go.
Hoffi Coffee.
Dwi Hoffi Coffee.
Dwi Hoffi Coffee. Amazing. That's it. Dwi Hoffi Coffee. So, what other Welsh?
It's like, so if I was to say I enjoy coffee, it's Dwi'n Mwynhawn Coffee.
It sounds German. Mwynhawn Coffee. I'm not going to get Daniel to give that a go.
I don't know if the pronunciation is right, but I could spell it for you.
Yeah. And I think I might be responsible for your Welsh
I just
hobby.
don't like the idea of
I remember
language
years ago. Have you ever done that drive, Danielle? You know, you must have, because we're going to be talking about your sort of tour of the UK later on. Did you ever do that drive down the M4 across the bridge into Wales?
Yeah, I did do that. Is it Prince Charles Bridge or something?
I can't remember the name of the bridge, but then there's a bit in the bridge where all the signs are then dual Welsh and English at the same time, aren't they?
Like, even though no one there doesn't speak English as a primary language, it's like, you know what, we'll stick the Welsh on the side.
But you know what? I like the idea of like sort of supporting the heritage of a country by having the dual nationality, and it confuses the English people as well, which is always good. Because we were trying to pronounce every single sign on the way down there, weren't we?
I now can get through probably 5 out of 100 words.
We remember, because we went to Cardiff, this was back in 2012, we went to Cardiff to watch some Olympic football. We went into Cardiff Bay, and there's a big.
I've been informed that is the Severn Bridge.
The Severn Bridge, thank you. We went into Cardiff Bay, and there's a massive, really ornate building. I can't remember the name of that either. In the middle of Cardiff Bay, and we went into the cafe there, and there was this like really nicely, like in a really lovely font, this Welsh word that looked like it was like knowledge passed down from generations, and we were looking at it going, what does that say? What does that say?
There was a small sign underneath it with the translation, mind the step.
It wasn't prolific knowledge at all. It was just telling us to mind the step. So feel free to answer the question of podcast, would you be when you grow up? And one of our last questions of the podcast is gaining a bit of traction. What is the favourite memory you've got of your grandparents? Danielle, what would your answer to that be?
Well, my grandma passed away when I was quite young, so don't really recall an awful lot with her. But my granddad, he used to pay the milkman when the milkmans used to do a lot more than what they are now before the big supermarkets opened. And every time I went round there, he used to give me his milk money, and that used to be the only reason I used to like going round.
Right. So you got paid from your granddad, and that's what you remember.
I did.
Right.
I used to get given his milk money. Yeah.
Oh, amazing! Amazing. You know what? We were talking yesterday. Did your granddad have a little pantry with loads of like chocolates and sweets in? Because a lot of people I speak to's granddads.
But my nan did. I always remember a little granny flat that she had. She had a pantry, and it always had digestive biscuits in it.
It's a nan thing. It's definitely a nan thing. Like nans and sweets and feeding kids sweets is definitely a nan thing. My nan's pantry had wagon wheels, clubs, and what else? I can't remember. There was loads of these little like sort of sweets, but wagon wheels and clubs.
You say that, but I used to do that with my friends.
Go on. What did you do?
I used to like give out Tic Tacs and strawberry laces.
Did you? Why are you bribing your friends with Tic Tacs and strawberry laces?
No, because you know when you see someone and they don't look like they're having the best moment of their lives, and you kind of go,
I want to help you out.
Have a Tic Tac, have a strawberry lace.
Yeah. Not
have a hobnob.
Not how are you? Have a Tic Tac. But yeah, did it work?
Yeah, well, they always seem to.
I've got to say, I was exactly the same. My dad, he used to drive a tanker and deliver glucose for Mars.
Okay.
I used to get loads of freebies, and I used to bribe all the kids on Mars Street with
and what did you have? What was your favourite thing to bribe people with?
Well, we didn't get an awful lot of Mars bars. We did get a few, but we got boxes and boxes of Fruitellas.
Fruitellas. Yeah, Fruitellas are good.
See, at the end of the, like, I think it was like year 9, when I was in year 9, we had like this little tournament of higher or lower, and I used to sit there and I used to go...
Sorry. sorry, higher or lower? You do mean play your cards right, don't you?
Yeah.
Play your cards right is the right name
and
of that game.
People put their sweets in, and if they got to the end, I had to give them some Mentos and their sweets back. And if they didn't get to the end, I took their sweets. It was great.
Right, can I say, right? Can we just talk about this? This is a generational thing, right? What do you call that game? Would you call it higher or lower, or play your cards right, Danielle?
Play your cards right.
Right, absolutely. Right. What do you call the game where you run around and you've got to catch each other and touch somebody? I don't know how that works in social distancing. It doesn't anymore. Where you've got to run and catch somebody and touch them.
Tag.
What do you call it?
Tag.
Wrong answer, right? The right answer is Ed. The right answer is Ed. Why does nobody call it Ed anymore? It. That's definitely not the right answer.
Have you seen the film Tag?
You know what? I haven't.
Why I've changed it to Tag. It's a brilliant film. It's based on a true story. A group of guys that started playing tag when they were youngsters, but they carried it on all the way through their lives.
You know what? I love that idea.
And they're still playing it.
So this is a genuine thing. A few weeks ago on the Kindness Project, we were having a conversation about stuff we'd want to do after lockdown. Okay, and somebody mentioned run-outs, right? Run-outs as a game, right? Now, genuinely, one of our listeners, friend of the show, said to us, I have never played run-outs.
Do you want, mate?
I've never played run-outs. Can you imagine never playing run-outs in your life?
Someone agrees with me in the comments.
So it's my mission when this is all over, big game of run-outs. Sounds amazing. So one question, are you in?
Yeah, I'm in.
In. Run-outs for the win. Right.
I don't think I'll be able to run as fast as I could as a kid, but I'll give it a go.
It's the taking part though, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's what you got to take part.
You know what my favourite part of that game always is? When you forget who's tagging and you kind of go, are you on my side? Are you not on my side? Do I run?
Yeah. So just let us know, what do you call Ad?
Oh, we've had a...
Dave Forsythe mentioned that it's called It. He's also let us know that the bridge is the Severn Bridge. And Eve Keith said, I think both these ideas sound great. Whilst we are being sensible, it would be nice to be able to see friends and family just a little bit. I think that's right. Like that general easing is going to help. Eve, just out of interest, I know this is less sensible than the idea of just seeing family and friends, but giant game of run-outs. Do you reckon that's what Boris is going to announce? I therefore allow you to have a giant...
allow it, just as long as we keep the 2 metre social distance. How
does that work in run-outs, though? I don't know.
If you hit them, that's it. They got to join you.
Well, you know what might work? A big game of dodgeball. I reckon Boris is going to announce that. We are having a giant game of dodgeball. Anyway.
Like rounders.
Can we get on with the show? Can we just do that? Thanks to Dave, who's watching for his silver linings. Dave always delivers us loads of good bits of amazing news. And on Saturday, he mentioned that eagles have returned to the UK after a 240-year absence. 6 white-tailed eagles have been released on the Isle of Wight in the hope of forming at least one breeding pair. And the heavy rock band The Dark and My Horizon has released a fundraising single called Carpe Diem, Seize the Day in Ladsing. It costs just £1 and they'll send you a second song for free, and 100% is going to NHS charities. Nike, the sportswear giant, are donating over 30,000 pairs of shoes to health workers. The Air Zoom Pulse shoe is a slip-on design specifically for people who are working long shifts and are on their feet constantly. And it's good to see such generosity from big brands. And a family in Leicester have put a hope board up where neighbours can share what they're going to look most forward to most after lockdown. Messages include pints, going to the beach, playing with my grandchildren and building a better world. I like that one. We know it will be over one day, so why not have a list of things to look forward to? Danielle, what are you looking forward to the most?
Seeing my mum, spending some time with my mum and my sister.
Yeah.
We're such a close family. Like it's me, my mum, my sister, and my 2 kids, and we're so close. It's always been us 5, and it's strange that there's been that divide between us. It's really, really weird.
Especially when like you're used to probably seeing your mum and your sister quite a lot, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now I know that when we first spoke, when we first interviewed you for the Kindness Project, it's because we read about your frankly incredible but also a little bit crazy trip in the paper. I just picked up, somebody mentioned to me it was in the paper, and we reached out to you and said, look, can you come on the podcast and talk to us about it? And the Kindness Project is a bit strange because one day we interview people in China and America and Australia, and then we share stories of people doing amazing stuff. And literally, you live 2 roads away from my office, don't you?
Yeah.
So thanks for coming in and sharing the story, and thanks for coming back on the Kindness Project to share it again. For our audience who don't know about you, tell us a little bit about you.
About me, well, Essex. I'll say Essex girl, not technically an Essex girl because I was born in Hackney, so yeah, we'll let that one slide. I'm a mum to 2 kids.
Yeah.
I've got Aggie, who's 16, who's currently going through the whole rigmarole of the GCSE exams.
Yep.
How's he finding it?
She's all right. Sorry. We're just hoping that she gets the grades that she deserves. She worked really, really hard, so we're hoping.
Yeah. Charlotte's going through the same thing, actually, so it's tough, isn't it?
It is. It really, really is.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to go down in history, that's for sure.
History GCSEs have to be updated now for the medicine topic.
Well, you know what? I just wonder how long. I wonder how long it takes for the present to become history. You know, like when will the coronavirus be taught in schools as history? 20 years, 30 years? Who knows?
They spend like.
Or more worryingly, will it become history, or will this be a regular thing now?
You know what? My take on it's quite optimistic because we've had pandemics in the past. We've survived pandemics in the past, and I don't think pandemics have ever become history. But the amount of times it impacts us as severely as this are limited at best.
I think the reason it's impacting us so much is because of the knowledge we have. Because like with the Black Death and the Great Plague and the Spanish flu, they didn't have the insight to kind of go, okay, everyone stay inside.
Yeah.
Oh, they did, because they closed bars and pubs and theatres.
Did they?
Yeah, well, during the second one, the Great Plague, not the Black Death, because the Black Death was the first one. Trying to remember back to my history lessons now. Just
one side thought, right? People tune in for a bit of positivity.
Yeah, but no, they used to isolate families together. They're doing that now.
Okay.
They used to keep people away from each other.
Yeah.
They shut bars, theatres, pubs, a lot of public places. Although being alcoholics is what saved a whole bar of men from cholera in...
I can't remember.
Broad Street.
Yeah.
So maybe that's not such a bad thing, but it's not like it's new measures. It's just because we're used to being so connected.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. So they used to do it before, but
not as strictly,
spreading the news. And the other tip I got from that little history lesson is beer is good for you. So apologies, Danielle. We went off. We went off on a.
One little question though. I've got to put it out there. Have you not noticed how blue the sky is?
Yeah.
You know what? I think
before this pandemic, we had blue skies and they were nice blue skies, but now we're getting blue skies.
You know what? I think certainly, I don't know about the skies, but certainly when I'm going for my run of an evening, the birds seem to be a bit louder. Nature seems to be coming back without the interference, and there's plenty of evidence that says that environments are improving. So as Mr. Forsyth said, there is always a silver lining to this stuff, right?
Yeah. There's stuff we learn from it.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, maybe we will, maybe we won't, but it'll be interesting to see what we learn.
So, tell us about the trip you made. Was it last year?
Was it last year?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
But distant memory now. Last Christmas it was. I set off on the 20th of December last year to deliver Christmas presents to all the children's hospices in the UK. There's 54 children's hospices in the UK, and unfortunately 26 couldn't accept my visit because me being the plank that I am, didn't do an awful lot of thought into it and decided to set off just before Christmas. So obviously all the hospice workers are working really hard to get the children home for Christmas, so 26 of them couldn't accept my visit, but 26 of them did.
And how did the idea for the trip start?
Well, I've always been, I don't know, if people have seen this podcast before, they'll understand. I am a complete nutter when it comes to Christmas. I absolutely love Christmas, always have done. And the Christmas before, Christmas 2018, I was sitting there with my daughter, Amy, and I said, oh, how great Christmas is, and the magic of Christmas. I said, wouldn't it be great to be Santa? And she was, well, you can be Santa. And I thought she was a complete loon. I thought, how can you be Santa? Is there some academy that I don't know of that I could apply for? And
sorry, where's this academy?
Can I sign up for the
Can I sign up?
Sign up. I really would sign up. But she said, well, you haven't got to deliver presents to the world. Would narrow it down. And I got thinking, I thought, oh, hospitals. But you do always see requests for presents for the big hospitals. They always do their fundraisers. And I thought, no one ever thinks of the hospices.
Yeah.
So I Googled children's hospices and it come up, there are 54. And I thought, 54, I can do 54. And that's how it all started.
Yeah, and I know when we spoke before, you told me a story that was quite sad, but also quite pertinent in terms of in terms of why you did the trip. Tell me a bit about that story.
There's so many reasons. I've been surrounded by, unfortunate. There's been a lot of illnesses for close friends. I've lost a lot of close friends, a lot of family. A good friend of mine lost a 7-year-old son to a very rare cancer. I've lost young cousins. It's heartbreaking. Yeah. I went through breast cancer in 2016, and unless you go through it, you read about it, you see about it on TV and documentaries, but unless you actually experience it, you would never understand the difficulty chemotherapy is, even the psychological side of it. So I battled breast cancer in 2016. I've now hit my year 4 clear. Whoop, whoop.
That can we just for 2 secs, just round of applause for that. You can carry on now. Well, I mean, we can carry on clapping, but.
Then it went quiet. I thought, oh, am I running a shot my own now?
Listen, to be frank, like, you do a better job, Danielle. Let's be honest.
Well, I don't speak Welsh, so I don't think I will be able to do a better
yeah,
job.
you know
I don't
what?
either.
You know what? Genuinely, I wonder. I mean, we started going up in the rankings.
Is this a gap in the market?
No, yeah, maybe like we've got a few more thousand listeners that have come on over the last few weeks. Maybe it's the Welsh contingent. Maybe the Welsh are enjoying it.
I've mentioned 3 times in like 5.
Russell, our esteemed editor, can you let us know where our new listeners are from? And is it Wales? Danielle, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Carry on.
You
Oh, okay.
I finished my story. I've got to the 4 years clear. Just to put that out there again, 4 years clear.
Amazing. Woo!
I don't know why I did.
Just out of interest, how did going through that impact your perspective on life?
It hasn't. I've always been a live for the moment anyway. It got me into quite a bit of debt when I adopted a live for the moment attitude and like, yeah, we'll go Disneyland Paris, yeah, we'll go Centre Parks and the credit card. But it's what the eye opener for me. I went through it. The first session of chemo was rough. Every single chemo session that I had, I ended up in A&E. I had complications. I had blood clot on one of the occasions. I had heart issues with another time. It was never ending, issue after issue after issue after each chemo. And I try, because I was obviously had 2 children with me, I try and keep upbeat as much as you can. And you try and keep a smile on your face and you try and swallow down the vomit that builds up from the nausea and the head pain that I used to get as well. That was terrible. And I'd allow myself maybe 1 day or 2 days of feeling down and sorry for myself, but then I'd pick myself up again. But the eye-opener for me and my sister, I got given tickets for Stand Up to Cancer, the actual show in London.
Yeah.
And I took my sister, and they show the videos, don't they?
Yeah.
Of people that are currently battling through cancer, and obviously a lot of tears shed. But there was a woman that came on and she started to talk about her family, and it was the first time that I'd ever understood that perspective of it. It had always been about me, but I'd never put myself in the position of my family, of them watching me go through it. What my mum must have gone through must have been awful.
Yeah.
I mean, I would never want to experience that. I'd rather have it myself than have my children have it, you know?
Yeah.
That was the awful part.
Yeah.
The realisation of what everyone else around you was going through.
Yeah. So you went on this trip, you're travelling around the country, you're in a position where you're delivering gifts. What story stood out the most when you're out delivering gifts of the impact that was having?
There were not so much stories. When I was visiting the hospices, I was given tours of the hospices and shown the facilities and shown where the fundraising goes. I also met a lot of children on these visits. Wonderful children sitting there, big beaming smiles on their faces. Met wonderful children. The sad side of that, these children have got life-limiting illnesses or difficulties like autism and things like that. And there was one girl that I met, I call her my princess, and she asked if I really work for Santa. I was like, yeah, I work for Santa. And she said, well, my mummy and daddy said that I'm going to be an angel before Christmas comes. So we're having our own Christmas this weekend. And I said, well, when I go back to see Santa, I'll tell him about you and I'll see if he can arrange some special wings for you. And you're going to be turned into an angel. So what sort of wings would you like? And she was describing how she'd like lights and glitter. I said, right, I'll go back to Santa and I'll tell him that. And her mum was in the background and she was mouthing thank you to me.
Oh, yeah.
This little girl was in a wheelchair. She couldn't have been no older than 3 or 4 years old. And I found out she'd actually died a few days before Christmas. She did pass away. Mm-hmm. That's the heartbreaking side of it.
Yeah. But
that's what makes everything a reality of what these hospices do.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about that. I mean, I know like hospices either that care for adults or care for kids. A lot of what they deliver is just that hope at the end of life and dignity at the end of life and respect at the end of life that we all want when we get to that stage. And I think it's so important, don't you?
It really, really is.
Yeah.
And I mean, the pain and suffering that some of these children must have gone through or go through. It's nice also to be able to be taken out of that hospital environment, or even the four walls of their homes, to be able to go somewhere where some of these places have got hydro pools and sensory rooms with beautiful lights. It's just an escape for them.
Yeah. No, perfect. Charlotte's got a question for you.
So, how has the current situation affected your future plans, and do you have any plans to go on another trip again?
I will be doing it again. There's no two ways about that. There's no doubts about that. I've had my first trip where I experienced the teething problems, and I know how to rectify that, in the sense of I will start delivering at the beginning of December rather than the day before Christmas.
Yeah.
It's affected me this year because obviously I've not been able to go out and fundraise like I would have been wanted to.
Yeah.
I don't know if the trip this year is going to be possible. The trip last year took 12 months of organising.
Yeah.
It took 12 months of getting thousands of metres of wrapping paper, wrapping the gifts, buying the gifts, fundraising for the gifts. I don't think it's going to be possible this year. I'm going to give it a go, depending on when this lockdown gets
finishes.
Lifted.
Yeah. But the good news is, even if it's not this year, it gives you the extra time to plan for something really big next year, right?
Yeah, definitely. Ideally, if I can't do it this year, I will do some sort of fundraiser that obviously won't be enough to buy all the presents, but it will be enough to donate, and I'll donate it to Together for Short Lives, which is a charity that works
with the hospices.
With the hospices, yeah.
Next one.
So, how are the hospices you support coping through this lockdown?
They are remaining open. A lot of their services have been restricted, but they have remained open. They're working very closely with the NHS to keep the children out of a hospital environment and obviously provide their services in the hospices. They are struggling financially.
Yeah.
As are all the charities, particularly the smaller charities. But a lot of the hospices they spent for a lot of years building up a fund to accommodate for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or if their fundraising wasn't doing so well, then they had this fund. They spent a lot of years raising this fund, like a standby fund.
Yeah. And in terms of people supporting you for the work you do. Sorry, one thing we haven't talked about that much is when you went to every single hospice, you were in fancy dress, weren't you?
It wasn't fancy dress. It was my uniform.
Sorry. As an official Santa's elf, you were wearing a uniform. Did you have a name badge?
I didn't, no.
It's not a uniform then, is it? It needs a name badge. And where can people find out about the amazing work you're doing and support you for your next trip, regardless of whether it's this year or next year?
Well, I'll put it all on my Facebook page. I'll make it all public, anything that I do. Probably I'm hoping the local papers, the press will cover it. I was trying to get a lot of the big presses to cover my trip last year so we can raise awareness, if anything, for what these hospices do and try and get them some funds, but they weren't interested in my story. But the local paper, the Romford Recorder, they always follow stories like that.
Yeah, so we'll I'll send you an email with a couple of people that I know. So if we can share your story a bit wider, that'd be good. So expect an email on that over the next couple of days. Thank you so much for joining us today, particularly as it's a Sunday. And stick around because we're going to start. We're not doing the joke yet. We're going to read out some of the answers to question of the podcast. And before we get on to the today's question in the podcast that we've had some amazing answers for. We had some extra answers for the question in the podcast we had a few days ago, which was, what is the favourite memory of your grandparents? Ollie Smith, our friend of the show, good old Ollie, said, hearing the story of how my granddad almost killed his CO by fiddling with the trigger console on a light bomber. Thank God the guns on planes pointed towards the plane was on the deck. A burst of guns went over the guy's head. Chris Lean said, when I was about 7, I asked my grandfather if he had shot any Germans in the war. His reply was, oh, good God, I hope not. You know what? It's interesting. My granddad used to mention the war, but when he did, he was always really vague, and he was one of those guys who just, like, the memories were so bad that he never wanted to talk about them. He used to make up weird stories about whether he was sitting in an office in the war when he wasn't. So we had those two. Eve Keith said, I was really close to my granddad, aged about 4. He came back from shopping, knocked on the glass front door. I was so excited to see him. I ran into the door, arms outstretched to hire him, broke the glass and ended up in A&E. And then one of my favourite emojis, that one. That emoji is amazing. In terms of what did you want to be when you grew up, John Cook said he wanted to be a consulting detective. Heidi Ball said a teacher, but the reality of teaching and the fantasy of teaching was a bit different. Charlie Goodman said he wanted to be a rock star, and he still wants to be a rock star. There's still time. Tracy Dame said, midwife, love to be the one helping a new life in the world. The most beautiful sound when you hear the first cry. Sarah Robinson said, I wanted to be a marine biologist, but unfortunately I went to a traditional Catholic school where girls studied home economics and childcare.
Oh, I can imagine if it was.
But you think about a generation before, and actually we've taken massive strides forward in girls and women being able to do whatever they want to do. It's like, being a dad of 2 daughters, that's important to me, to make sure that you're that you've got an opportunity. Hazel Gray said, total cliche, but I wanted to be a ballet dancer, had ballet lessons right up to the age of 18, and then I discovered Boys and Booze. It didn't help the training much. So that was Hazel's. What one of those jobs would you like, Danielle?
Marine biologist sounds quite good, I've got to say.
So it sounds all right, doesn't it? It sounds quite a good one.
If, like, they based me somewhere nice and hot.
Yeah, you know what? I've got a friend of mine who's a diving instructor, and some of the places he gets to work are amazing. Kelly Crouchman said, I always wanted to be a private investigator or work in forensics.
Oh, forensics work is good.
Problem is, I don't know if I'd like the gory side. Do you know what I mean?
I have a friend who wants to be a mortician.
Yeah. I had a friend. This is a genuine story, and I've never told this on the podcast before. I had a friend when I was sort of late teens, early 20s, a guy called Mark. And he joined, I'm like you, Daniel, I'm from East London. I'm from sort of a little bit further in a place called Canning Town, that people from East London probably know. And there was a big funeral directors there. And my friend got a job in the funeral directors. And I think I was sort of 21 and 22, and turned up at this funeral, saw Mark in the distance, and gave him a massive cheesy grin and a big wave. And I was like, that wasn't appropriate for a funeral, was it? Clearly. Do you know what I mean? You don't do a cheesy grin and a big wave while you're at a funeral. And he just did this polite nod that made me realise, no,
this is a funeral environment.
Don't wave to the funeral directors at a funeral. Let them get on with their jobs. Dave Forsdyke said he wanted to be an omelette chef. That sounds. Is that a job? Omelette chef. I'd be good at that.
Please don't.
Yeah, seriously. When I was a boy, I would tell my parents about the omelette bar I'd be setting up in Victoria Station, serving omelettes with a variety of fillings to commuters. That sounds
Omelette!
Oh yeah, there is actually weirdly. You talk about omelettes. There is a restaurant in Amsterdam called Omleg that all it serves is omelettes. And we've got a special guest who wants to pop in and say hello. Hello, Sophie. How are you?
From Omleg, I had
the
peanut butter and banana
Yeah.
omelette.
Yeah, so Danielle, when Sophie, who's my younger daughter, when we all went to Omleg in Amsterdam, Sophie had a sweet omelette. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It was amazing. What was it?
Really good.
So what was in it again? Peanut butter and banana, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
she's not in frame, but you know.
So that was good. And Sarah apparently went to her head office for a training conference once, and they had an omelette chef specifically.
Yeah.
That's good work. That's good work. Sharon Adkins wanted to be a travel agent. Mark Barley wanted to be a spaceman.
I have a friend who wanted to be an astronaut, and now he wants to make robots that go into space.
You know what? I think that is an amazing aspiration. Judith Hitchens wanted to be a vet, and then Mandy Medlock said, my daughter, who's now 18, when she was little, and we asked her what she wanted to be when she grew up, and bear in mind Mandy's from Norfolk, the only answer she had was, I want to be an Essex girl. That is an amazing answer. And on that note, thank you for your contributions to Question of the Podcast. For the live episodes, we've had a little thing of Charlotte finishing with a joke. Now, just a word of warning, Danielle. They're usually not great, but we'll let you be the judge of that. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. What sits at the bottom of the sea and twitches?
I don't know.
A nervous wreck.
I actually like that because I get it. I don't really get jokes.
I don't need two of you pretending these jokes are good. All right, please. It's bad enough one person pretending the jokes are good, but two I can't handle. And on that note, my friends, thank you for tuning in to another Kindness Project. Bye from Sophie. Bye from Charlotte. Bye from me. I wasn't finished. Let me finish. Thank you so much to Danielle for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.